Welcome to Strike Stroke. My name is Dr. NIHSS. Today we're going to look at the first section of the NIHSS stroke scale. As I mentioned in the past, the NIHSS stroke scale is a tool used to scale the severity of a stroke an individual is having. It is not meant to replace the neurological examination that's performed by a neurologist to localize a lesion for various neurological disorders. It is meant to be objective and reproducible in scaling a stroke an individual is having. So today we'll look at the first section. The first section has 3 subsections: Section 1A, 1B, and 1C. Section 1A is scaled 0 to 3, and it's looking at the overall impression we have of the individual who is involved in the stroke code. So if you walk into a stroke code and you see the individual on the stretcher, awake, looking around, and as you approach them, they are responsive to your examination or history taking, then they will score a 0 because they are alert and keenly responsive. And the other end of the spectrum in Section 1A is that the individual who score a 3, which basically means they're in a coma. This would be an individual who do not have the eyes open, they're flaccid, they're not responsive to various level of stimulation such as vocal stimulation or gentle tap on the shoulder or noxious stimulation, or they might give abnormal reflex response to a noxious stimuli. This section is crucial because if a patient scores a 3 in Section 1A, then that means the subsequent examination of the stroke scale would also be affected. So if we look at Section 1B, which is looking at orientation question, asking the patient recent and remote questions such as current month and their age, might be affected if they're not awake enough or alert enough to be able to engage in physical examination. They will score high on that section, which ranges from 0 to 2, so they will score a 2. Just alone in those sections, Section 1A and Section 1B, they would have a score of 5 out of 42. This is already significant on the stroke scale. So if we move on to Section 1C and we're looking at commands, we ask the patient to close eyes and open it, make a fist and release it. And the patient who's awake will be able to perform this examination if they're not having issues in the language center. But if a patient is not responsive, then they would score 2 on this section as well because they will not be able to engage in physical examination. Just by looking at this section, Section 1, which has 3 subsections, we can see that if the level of consciousness is affected, they would score high already just in this one section, which can give us as examiners an indication that the individual is having a significant stroke. Just by this section, we're very concerned. The patient is having significant stroke, and they do require immediate treatment if they are within the treatment window for any intervention that we have to offer. Consciousness is affected if the individual is having stroke that's affecting both of the cerebral hemispheres. It could also mean that the brainstem is affected, and we talked about this in the past where the brainstem houses a reticular activating system which controls arousal. Additionally, if both of the thalamus, if they're affected in posterior circulation stroke, if the individual has arterial percheron, then they can have low level of consciousness as well. In conclusion, today we looked at the first section of the NIHSS stroke scale. An individual who has high score on the first section of the NIHSS stroke scale could mean that they're having a significant stroke until proven otherwise. Thank you for watching. I hope you found this information useful. In the next episode, we'll look at the second section of the NIHSS stroke scale. And always remember to dial 911 if you or someone near you suddenly can't see, can't speak, can't walk, or can't feel. Let the operator know that you or someone near you might be having a stroke so that you or the individual near you can be transported to the nearby comprehensive or primary stroke center for rapid stroke analysis and tailored treatment.